The old saying goes, they don't ask how, they ask how many, and the Canadiens really put that to the test on Saturday in Ottawa.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day, for subscribing wherever you get your podcast, and for making us here at Locked On, the #1 sports podcast network. We do love saying that. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. My name is Ian Boisvert, also known as @MaybeIt'sIan, who is questionable with a bad back. And I am joined, as I always am, by Laura Saba, who is also questionable due to, do we want to call it a head injury? Like, what are we calling it?
It's a migraine.
Yeah. The Canadiens are getting healthier, but us on this show are not. We are a hurting unit. We're going to gut this one out. And then for you. It's all for you. Always. Yep. Laura, how are we feeling after a game where the Canadiens gutted out just not a very good performance and somehow escaped the nation's capital with 2 points?
I think it's really funny more than anything else. I don't want to ever see the Montreal Canadiens play like that again. We're going to talk about it, I know. But Ottawa's biggest weakness right now is that their goaltending is just impossible, right? That was a layup for the Canadiens, and they couldn't put together more than, what was it? I think it was like 10 shots before
16 shots.
Yeah, 16 shots total, but like 10 shots before. I want to say it was 5 minutes before the end of the game when they actually started playing, right? So, to me, I don't ever want to see that, but it's still kind of hilarious that you didn't try for 55 minutes and then won the game.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible too, because that was one of the worst games we've seen the Canadiens play this year, and of course they end up winning. We'll talk about that game. Talk about the week as a whole, which going into the final 5 minutes of the third period against Ottawa, it changed from was going to be a pretty downright awful week to actually a pretty good one from a points perspective. And then Sunday marks 4 years since Kent Hughes was hired in Montreal. So we kind of want to take a look at the body of work so far, what there is still left to do, but and also champion a lot of the successes that the Canadiens have had under his watch. But let's start in Ottawa. Montreal gets off to a 2-0 lead. They think they're about to get a 3-0 lead on a Zachary Bolduc goal. And the Senators challenge it for offsides. It was offsides. That to me was the turning point. And Ottawa decided, okay, we not that we got lucky, but we got a bounce. A bounce went our way here. And Ottawa really turned it on from that point. Montreal really struggled to generate anything of consequence at 5-on-5. They ended up scoring, I think, 2 5-on-5 goals in this game. But it doesn't matter because Ottawa's goaltending is abhorrent. That is, they should be having open tryouts in Ontario right now for someone to just walk in and be the Senators' next goaltender. It is shocking that a team is having this bad of a performance in net, to the point where he's got teammates. I think it was Jake Sanderson after the game was asked about it. Which, by the way, don't ask him about goaltending. I don't think that's nice. But also it's Ottawa, so let it rip. That he basically said, I think Levy made some good saves, but also you can't win when you only make 10 saves. And I was like, that's awesome. I really love to hear that. If there's any team that I want to beat this particular way, it's Ottawa, because it makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
Should we worry about the Canadiens' play in this game though, or is it just like they're running out of gas?
I think they're playing a lot of games. They're playing a lot of games. Like this was a quote unquote 3-game week, but really, we're seeing, was it a 3-game week? I can't even remember. It was a 4-game week. Yeah, it's the one coming up. See, I'm sorry, you guys. My head really hurts. The pace of the season has just been uneven and chaotic, and there have been some nights that are so packed. So I think it's fair to give them a little bit of grace for being gassed. Absolutely. But at the same time, that Ottawa is struggling in goal. And you also know that Ottawa has a lot of elements of a really good team. This is the team at the beginning of the season we expected the Canadiens to be neck and neck with, right? There's a reason for that. They've got great elements. So this is kind of like your work is being done for you because they're struggling in goal until such a time that they either get a solution in goal or Linus Ullmark comes back, which we don't know when that's going to be, right? So at this moment in time, why are you not prepared? Why are you not showing up at the game and doing nothing but peppering their goalie with shots? Why are you allowing opportunities for Ottawa to capitalize on your mistakes? So for me, I felt like they went in without a game plan, and that kind of bothered me. Is that they need to get in, they need to go in with a game plan. If they had some strong conviction as to how that game was going to go, they would not have let it get out of hand.
Yeah, I totally agreed. I think, in back-to-back games, the game against Buffalo and the game against Ottawa, Montreal was kind of just forechecked into oblivion, and they
Yeah.
didn't really have an answer for that. They didn't have an answer for, big bodies up front coming in and applying pressure down low. And I think against a tired team, a forecheck is a really effective way of getting in there and getting to work. It's also, the thing about forechecking is in order to forecheck, you actively are trying to give the other team the puck. You're trying to dump and chip and chase it in. It's that aspect of it is easier, but if you can't actually finish the forecheck, you're just giving the other team the puck. The better option to do would be to try to skate the puck in, but against a tired team like the Canadiens, the easier option is to dump and chase and try to beat their defenseman down low.
Yeah.
Um,
And you're missing two players who are the best at skating the puck into the zone, which is Kirby Dach and more importantly Alex Newhook, right?
yep.
Those are the guys that don't do the dump and chase no matter what. They're using their speed. They're entering the zone with the puck. So, you kind of the way that you're compensating is putting yourself in danger of giving the puck away.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, we got some incredible performances in this one just from a pure stats standpoint. Cole Caufield, another overtime winner. He also had a power play goal in this one, which was one of my favorite goals of the game, which is saying something in a game that had 11 of them. He's coming in. Nick Suzuki creates a weird 2-on-1 on the power play with Caufield, and Caufield is not looking at Merlainen or the net at all and beats the goalie 5-hole because he's trying to make it look like he's going to go pass. If you're a goaltender and Cole Caufield is coming at you on a 2-on-1, he's not passing. I don't know why Merlainen thought that was ever going to be something Cole Caufield was going to do. He was more likely to just chip the puck back to Montembeault than he was to pass that puck over to the other guy. Like he's ripping that every time.
Yeah.
And then
Can we talk about Montembeault too eventually? Sorry.
Yeah, let's do it right now. I think I was on Game Over after the game, and there was some white knuckling about the play of Montembeault in this one, and I kind of have to disagree. Like it especially down the stretch where they were down by 2, and he couldn't let anything in.
Yeah,
there was a sequence where the Sens were in the zone. He was making a bunch of saves. None of the Canadians were getting to any of the rebounds, and then there was a breakaway late in the game where he had to make 2 stops on the same player on the same breakaway, and he does that. And in the back of your mind, you go, okay, save that one for if the Canadians are able to come back. And they are.
Yeah.
What did you think of his game as a whole? It didn't seem like there was much for him to do about
Yeah.
any of the goals that went in.
Sometimes, like the goal totals don't reflect the actual play of the goaltender, and it's unfortunate. And I think, you're looking at Montembeault. We talked about the 5 games. This was game 5, right? Since he went
Yep.
on his conditioning stint in Laval. And if you look at each performance in these 5 games, and then you look at all of his performance prior to going back to Laval, like there was maybe 1 or 2 games where he played this well, right? And the numbers, the goal totals at that point were reflecting his poor play. But now I feel like it's in spite of his good play that it's happening. I'm glad that he's being rewarded with the W's, to be honest. I really don't think that he's playing poorly at all. I firmly feel that he's going to be okay. I don't think he's going to be stellar, but he's going to be okay this season. The Canadians are going to get league average goaltending this season. That's what I feel watching his performance since he was sent down to Laval. He could get even better after the break. We don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Last thing I want to end on, I love beating the Senators team because of who the Senators are just as people.
As a franchise.
When Tim Stützle is on a 2-on-1 and Demidov tries to back check and he dives to try to make a diving poke check and he touches the outside of the left skate of Tim Stützle at the red line, at the center ice line, and Stützle takes 2, maybe 3 more strides, gets to the blue line, and then falls down. I don't know how he keeps getting away with this. He drew a penalty on that play in which it took him 20 minutes to fall down. I have a really hard time watching this player and he's an incredibly talented player. He's also a player I have zero respect for.
Yeah.
Like there's no, and nobody should have any respect for him. Because then he's like down in the corner and he's throwing these huge hits for a guy of his size, but you touch him and he crumbles. I don't understand how the league and officiating has not caught on to the fact that this dude does this. Everybody who watches this sport watches Timmy and goes, that guy loves to flop, and you guys keep buying it, and the officials just have no urgency to make any kind of change in that department. It's going to continue forever. So no respect for that player. Don't need to respect him.
I don't like him very much. Another thing that I want to say is that why are you celebrating an arena you hate?
Back-to-back games, huh? Where the Canadiens have to sit through a ceremony for some chicanery. Like, none of that made any sense. We went from the Sabres celebrating a team that made it halfway to a Stanley Cup final 2 years ago to a team celebrating a 30-year-old building that they are actively trying to replace. Everyone yells at the Canadiens about this sort of thing, and this is the last point I'll make before we move on. You know, all the Canadiens, they do all their ceremonies. Okay, what was the last Canadian ceremony? Do you remember what it was, Laura?
Andrei Markov.
Yeah, and guess what? Sportsnet didn't play it. So, like, what are you complaining about? We had to sit there and watch the Senators like celebrate this building and all of the great non-memories that happened in it. Like, the Canadiens do their ceremonies. Yeah, we celebrated one of the greatest defensemen in franchise history, and the network that aired it nationally decided not to show it. Shut up. I'm over it. Stupid. All right, we'll leave that there. We have to move on. When we come back, we'll take a look at the week that was for the Canadiens, how they gutted it out, and they ended up actually picking up a decent amount of points in a very difficult week. And we'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens. The NFL playoffs are here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Here's how it's going to work. You're going to open your profit boost pack first thing on game days to see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, you're picking a defense, you're backing a quarterback, or you're taking coaching. Boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new or something maybe you don't want to. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right, welcome back. Thank you for making Locked On Canadiens your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out the new Everydayer Club. You'll get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Canadiens, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. And you'll get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of the show. I'm in there from time to time, so come hang out. Go to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, Laura, our rundown says forecast. It should say weekly recap. The weekly forecast is tomorrow, because now we have 2 straight weeks, Laura, coming up of Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday games.
Right.
We love regularity on this show. This season has offered us very little of that, but I'm very excited for the Canadiens to get back to that. But let's look at the week that was for the Canadiens. It starts with the 6-3 win against Vancouver at home. On the second half of back-to-back, they lose 3-2 to the Washington Capitals in overtime. They lose 5-3 in Buffalo, and then they have that crazy comeback win against Ottawa on Saturday. You look back at this week. What's the main theme from this week that you'll take away?
Honestly, I felt like they were tired.
Yeah,
I think that's right. They didn't seem listless. It felt like often they were skating in mud a little bit, or a little bit more with the mental decisions that they were making. I felt that the fatigue showed a lot with some of the on ice decision making. And so I'm glad that this week didn't go the way I thought it would, which was 4 losses. Personally, privately, I don't know why. There was something about this week that I was dreading. I don't know if it was just like the weirdness in the schedule. I have no idea, because they played on Saturday, and then they played on Monday and Tuesday.
Mhm.
and then they played on on Thursday, and then they played on Saturday. Like, it just, like, it was so uneven. Like, when are you taking time off and when are you practicing in that week,
Yeah. They're
right?
not. Like,
When are
they're
you
not. They're
resting?
doing morning skates, but those aren't, like,
Yeah,
full-fledged practices. It looks like Mondays are gonna be their practice days from now on. What I
yeah.
found interesting about the Ottawa game, I watched the clip afterwards where they give out the player of the game in the locker room, and it went to Caufield, and he puts on the wolf hat, and he just says one thing. He says, "Enjoy your day off," and they all start clapping. Like, these guys are gassed.
They're
They're
tired.
so tired, and they have every right to be tired.
Yes. Can I also talk about that wolf hat for a second?
Let's do it.
Like,
I love a tradition like that, so I'm very much interested in what you have to say.
I really like that the Canadians are showing every single one after a win. I
Yeah,
love it. And I enjoy that, like, they're all like, "Speech, speech," and then the guy
yeah,
goes, "Let's go, boys, keep it
yeah,
going." And then
yeah. Let's
everyone
keep
just, like,
rolling, and they go, yeah.
they
They lose
lose
their
their
minds.
minds. Like, it's like the best thing that was ever said. They're always saying the same thing, or they're like, "Enjoy the day off."
Yeah,
Because I feel like Sam Montembeault said that a couple of weeks ago, maybe, because again, they don't get any days off, or they get very few days off. But I just, I love that tradition, whatever it is, a jacket, a hat, a helmet. But I'm very worried about the germs.
it's got to smell
It's
awful,
keeping
man.
me up at night.
There's no way it smells good. It was a wolf. It was a taxidermy wolf hat to begin with. Like, and now a bunch of sweaty dudes put it on after busting their butts for
Yeah.
60 minutes plus. Like, it has to reek.
Yeah. My friend was like, "I want that burned in a fire." It's like, hopefully somebody's like, you were talking about spray disinfectant. I'm like, hopefully somebody has that. Hopefully the equipment guys have like a disinfectant spray at the very least, because that is grossing me out so much. I lose sleep over it. Sorry, I derailed.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
gotta be like, like when you go to the bowling alley and you rent shoes, like whatever spray they spray in the shoes, like as soon as Caufield takes that off, an equipment guy is just like spraying that whole thing down. Look, I think you look back at this week and it's a week of inconsistencies for the Canadians. It started in Vancouver. They get one power play, they score on it. 5-on-5 looked good too. It seemed like it was going to be a good start to the week. And then, they go into Washington,
Washington.
where their power play was bad. Washington's power play was bad. The Canadians' PK was quite good. Washington's PK was quite good. And they can't gut it out in the third period because they're just gassed. It's the second half of the back-to-back, and game 1 million in night 1 million and 1. It was just not going to happen. Buffalo, they get their power play going. 5-on-3 is terrible. 5-on-5 is terrible. You can kind of say the same thing about the Ottawa game. The 5-on-4 power play got things going. 5-on-5 play lacked. They get the winner 3-on-3. So I think just as a young team, you're always just kind of hoping that they're able to put all of these pieces together at the same time. That's the big learning that has to come out of a week like this.
Yeah.
Is, how do you get your 5-on-5 going in a game like Ottawa, in a game like Buffalo? How do
But
you
how you
figure out?
also keep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the challenge, right? Is a lot of times they get those opportunities on the power play and they'll score on them, but then the 5-on-5 disappears, or they'll be great 5-on-5 and then the power play disappears. Like, it's never. I've said on the show, like a lot of people talk about, a 60-minute game, like a 60-minute effort. There's no such thing. Like, guys, there's no in a team's season, you might have one game or two games a year where you go, they were flawless from tip to tail. They were
Unless you're the
unbeatable.
Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, and again, like they're mutants. Like, what's happening there is different. By the way, I do want to say, leaving play Saturday night, actually coming in, into Sunday, Lane Hutson is 3 points behind Cale Makar for the lead
What
in
a
the
bum.
league for points. I can't believe he's that close. Looking back at the week, this week was a big difference maker. 3 different players had 6 points in 4 games for the Canadians. It was Caufield, Suzuki, and Hutson. Each of them had 6 points in 4 games. All assists for Hutson, which I think is par for the course. The Canadians on the week, they didn't play all that well, I'll be honest, and they end with 5 out of 8 points.
Not
They
bad.
went over 500 in a week where we have every reason to believe they are exhausted and not playing their best hockey.
Yeah. They played well in one game. They deserve 2 out of 8. They got 5 out of 8.
Yeah, and that's I wrote, it says gutting it out on the side of the show, just like we are with our ailments heading into this podcast. They are gutting it out. Who's your star of the week for the Canadiens?
I want to give it to Carrier just because he's not going to get one ever again.
He was tied for the most goals on the week with Cole Caufield.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
But
it's yeah.
Yeah, like let's be honest though, Cole Caufield really turned it on this week. Like we
Yeah.
were talking about, you were criticizing him, and then he turned it around. He heard your thoughts.
Yeah, him and Nick both. Nick had 6 points as well. I'll give my star of the week goes to Cole Caufield. I think he really embraced the situation that the Canadiens found themselves in. He is a player where if you give him an odd man advantage or put him in a 3-on-3 situation, he's going to burn you.
Yeah.
He didn't get many chances in the Washington game because then Washington got that power play and Montreal never got the puck back. But in this one, I mean, watching Stützle whiff on that one-timer was beautiful enough. Seeing Hutson throw it up the ice for a 2-on-1 where Caufield basically fired it right at the goaltender and it still went in the net. It was a perfect ending to that game. I cannot overstate how much I love seeing those Sens bozos lose. I cannot overstate it. I want to beat them more than any other team in the world.
More than Toronto, more than Boston.
Any of them. Add those teams up, and I'm like, I want to beat Ottawa more than I want to beat any of the other ones combined.
Yeah.
They're fake team. Steve Staios, I'm sure, is writing up another statement as we speak about their goaltending. All right, we'll leave that there. When we come back, it's been 4 years since the Canadiens hired Kent Hughes. I can't believe it's been that long already. And we'll talk about sort of the work that he's done already and the work that remains to be done. And we'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored jobs boost your post to the people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners to this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now. Support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. All right. Welcome back. On January 18th, 2022, the Montreal Canadiens hired a new general manager, a guy named Kent Hughes. And you go back to that time when we were talking about the Canadiens looking for a general manager. Matthew Darche was a big name that was floating around. I remember Emily Cassier was one. Now she's in Vancouver as an assistant general manager. I think at the time they talked to Daniel Briere as well, because I don't think he was in Philly just yet. And they end up with Kent Hughes, a player agent who, for what it's worth, speaks French like I do. A lot better than I do. But if I was better at French, I would sound like Kent Hughes. I think that's where I end up.
I mean, I sound pretty much like Kent Hughes too.
Yeah. And it that era of the Canadiens, I always remember thinking back, they grab Jeff Gorton first, right? It happens right as they're firing everybody. Jeff Gorton comes on and we're like, hang on, that's actually a really smart hire. That made a lot of sense for the Canadiens. And then they're looking for a general manager and they bring in Kent Hughes. And we're all sort of like, I don't know what this is, but it was a new way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
It was not a retread. Then they hire their first coach. They said Dom Ducharme was going to stay until the end of the season. And then Jeff Petrie had a full-blown meltdown about the defensive zone coverage. And they're like, we have to get this guy out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And they hire Marty St. Louis, not a retread, a guy with an incredible track record still. And you start to see that at that point, the Canadiens are not concerned with bucking trends. They're not concerned with how you think they're going to do things. They're going to do things their way.
Yeah.
What is it about the Kent Hughes era 4 years in that I think maybe has surprised you the most that you look back on and you go, I never would have thought this would have happened?
Honestly, I initially when that happened, what I thought the dynamic was going to be that the Canadians really just wanted Jeff Gorton. Jeff Gorton doesn't speak French, so they hired a talking head, right? That was what I thought the plan was. And to be fair, they do make a lot of these decisions together, right?
Sure.
They make a lot of, you know, they make a lot of plans together, but what I learned was how aligned they both are in their vision and how aligned Marty is with that vision as well, right?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I like about Kent Hughes is that there's a level of transparency. It doesn't mean that he comes out and he tells us everything that he's going to do. That's not it. But he tells us he doesn't hide behind things like if you want loyalty, get a dog, or it's hard or whatever. Like everybody knows that it's hard to build a team. Everybody knows that it's hard working with the salary cap or to trade for talent or to sign talent, to convince talent to come here. But somehow he's been able to do that, right? And what I really, really like about the way that he thinks, and to point out, like he apparently this hiring ruffled a lot of feathers in the NHL, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the old school hockey guys were not happy about it, which I didn't realize until a couple of months ago somebody mentioned that, and I thought, why not, right? But I think it's not that he was a player agent and he knows how to speak to them. That's not it at all. I think he really has, like, they have bought into this vision and they do everything in service of that vision. However, if something happens, they make a decision that did not align with it. They're not scared to admit they made a mistake and change course.
Yeah.
And that's super refreshing. I like that they're bold. I like that they're smart. I like that they have this idea of what they want to do, but I also like that they take their work seriously. They don't take themselves seriously, because if you are in a market like Montreal, you can't take yourself too seriously. And I think that was one of Bergevin's biggest downfalls. That was
Yeah. He
guy
took
that
everything personally, huh?
who's the guy that insulted Camilleri, whose name I'm forgetting. Um, who was general manager
The
after Bob Gainey?
Pierre Gauthier.
Gautier, right? Like these guys took themselves so seriously. And you take your job seriously, don't take yourself seriously. You have to be able to have an idea of what your own shortcomings are. You have to have a sense of humor about them.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to make mistakes and pick yourself back up, right? So there's no, like, they don't have this stubbornness that they cling to, like maybe previous regimes have had, where it's like, I think this guy is going to be a good fit and I'm going to do whatever I can to make it fit. They're not like that. And the thing that surprised me the most is, even if it's not an open admission to mistakes, that they're willing to admit that they made mistakes and move on.
Yeah. I mean, the Justin Barron pivot
Yeah.
is the biggest example of that. And it's an example that just because you pivot does not mean you take pennies on the dollar and make your team worse. They exponentially improved their roster when they traded Barron for Carrier. It was not a small, oh, well, they got a player who can play. Like, they got a massive part of what they're doing. It was looking at it in hindsight, they knew they were going to lose Savard at the end of the year. They knew he was retiring. And they grabbed a guy who has effectively become new Savard. Right? Like, that's kind of what they're doing. The whole thing about them not taking themselves too seriously, I think, is spot on. I remember all the time Jeff Gorton saying, Kent Hughes is not my best friend. And, like, because there was a big thing, like, oh, he just hired his best friend. He's like, first of all, not my best friend. We're tight, but, like, relax. Everybody needs to chill out.
Or like calling him, right? I love that.
Yeah, I mean, he calls him the Squirrel, right? He calls Kent Hughes the Squirrel because he's always working. He's always looking for a nut. I think for me, the least surprising part in hindsight should be that he's really good at negotiating contracts, because he knows what these players want to hear. He knows what these players want. He knows what they value, and if he doesn't, this front office has put a real importance on emotional intelligence.
Yes.
That's when they talk about Marty. That's one of the first things they always say, is he's very emotionally intelligent. He knows how to talk to these players. So the contract negotiation part of this, I think Kent Hughes, we should have all seen coming, especially because he has not handed out a bad contract yet.
No.
Maybe you can argue maybe the Jake Allen one, but he was able to move it, so it doesn't even matter.
Also, at the time that he signed that Jake Allen one, the Canadiens were desperate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The part that surprises me most is how how great of a job trading he's done. Like, you look at the trades that he's made, he loses very few of them, and when he does, it's very little.
Yeah.
Like, the Noah Dobson trade is going to be one that he's remembered for a long time. He trades 2 first-round picks and a roster player for a defenseman who the Canadiens needed. The Canadiens, needed to bolster their right side. It's a huge trade. And then in that, you also learned that Noah Dobson wanted to play in Montreal. That, like, of the teams that were interested, he was most interested in going to the Canadiens.
Yeah.
So them turning the Canadiens into this place nobody wanted to be, where the general manager was going out and being like, I can't make players want to play here, and being a general manager who ostensibly makes players want to play there, right? Like, players want to come into this organization now because of what Kent and Jeff have built, because of what Marty is doing on the coaching staff. Like, to me, the biggest turnaround in all this, yes, the player acquisition, nailing the drafting, nailing the development, of course, but these guys love coming to the rink. They love playing hockey again, which was not the case for a long time under the previous regime.
Yeah.
So it's important to the how you build a hockey team, that the hockey team actually enjoys being around one another. And I think that, to me, is the biggest coup when it comes to what these guys have done. Any last thoughts on Kent Hughes and his 4-year anniversary?
Not to kick them while they're down, but, like, we just heard about what Jake Sanderson was saying. Like, that's not a team that likes their job right now. That's not a team that
No.
likes going to the rink. That's not a team that likes being around each other, right? That's not a team where things are going right. And I can't imagine something like that happening here under Kent Hughes' watch, right?
Yeah.
And one more thing that I do want to say is that we questioned a lot of things that he's done. We questioned the Slavkovsky pick. We thought he was going to go for Shane Wright. Look, at Slavkovsky's been one of the best players in the NHL of late.
Yeah.
In the NHL, in the NHL, like, Canadians, right?
He nailed it. I'm ready to stick my flag of that's toast. We're done with that. Like, we need to bury that because they nailed it.
But also, like, we criticized the Alex Newhook thing because of what they gave up. But then you saw Alex Newhook get injured, and the lack of speed and how that transformed the way the Canadians needed to play made it so much harder for them, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't appreciate him until he wasn't available. And so Kent Hughes knew what he was talking about with that. It's just that sometimes we don't see it, right? And I don't think that, anybody should be immune to criticism. I don't think that. But what Kent Hughes has done is, I think, again, like, his foresight is one of the biggest things. I'm just really happy to be a Montreal Canadiens fan right now. Even if they, you talked last night on Game Over about, like, will they win a round this season or not? Even if they don't, I know that they're in good hands, right?
Yeah.
I know that eventually we're going to be the team that everybody hates because they keep beating you.
Well, and you got to remember too, like, even if they don't win a round, they're not done being built. We're still waiting on their 5th overall pick from a few years ago to play in the National Hockey League, in David Reinbacher. Like, we're waiting on stuff to happen. We're waiting on dudes to get here. Michael Hage is a 1st-round pick from recently, who's probably going to play in the National Hockey League this year. So, there's still stuff to be added. We talked about the cap situation that they're in. They're in a really good one, especially 2 years from now. They have next to no one under contract, which sounds scary, but also you have to remember, like, a lot of those guys are restricted free agents. They have their rights. They'll figure something out. Or you take a big swing at a guy in free agency. They will be at that point in their build to do something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But ultimately, I think the first 4 years of Kent Hughes' time in Montreal has been a resounding success. And I'm very glad that they went this non-traditional path to finding their next GM. It seems like he's going to stick around for a while. So very, very happy with how this has worked out. All right. You ready to move on? Let's hit our trivia and head out of here. And then we can ice up what ails us, spend some time. What do they call treatment days?
Therapy days.
Therapy days?
Therapy days.
Yeah,
my therapy day is going to be sticking my head in the freezer until it gets down.
Yeah, I'm just going to lay flat on my back on the floor, I think. All right, Friday's question. For some reason, the Sabres celebrated a team for winning 2 rounds 20 years ago. When what Montreal Canadiens scored 5 goals in 6 games versus the 05-06 Buffalo Sabres? Do you have the answer, Laura?
It is Alexei Kovalev.
It is Alexei Kovalev. It was one of his first, I think it was his first full season with the Canadiens at that point. Yeah, he was lights out. in the games that the Canadiens won against that Sabres team, he had multiple goals, I think, in each of them. So we'll leave that there. First Habs, we had the first Habs goal. Nobody guessed it. It was Slav. No one had the trivia either for that one. So we will move on. Today's trivia question. Cole Caufield and Juraj Slafkovsky each scored twice against Ottawa on Saturday. Only 3 Habs have hat tricks against the Senators all time. Who are they? So which 3 Montreal Canadiens have hat tricks against the Ottawa Senators all time? If you have the answer, put it in the comments down below this video. Let us know any way you know how, and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode of the show. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Canadiens. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Canadiens everywhere so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Canadiens ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you listen. Make sure your second listen is NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. You can find the show Locked On Canadiens everywhere we're posting things at Locked On Canadiens, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok primarily. You can send us an email, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. We got a lot of our mailbag questions via email. It's one of the best ways to get in contact with us. But also, we just get a lot of fun, mail from you guys. You guys love reaching out. You love talking about this team. You love talking to us about this team. We love hearing it. So lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com to get in contact with us there. You can find me at Maybe It's Ian. You can find Laura at The Active Stick. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys tomorrow with our weekly forecast.